Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I was and still am a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is the one, the only, Robyn Deverett. Oh, Robyn, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Robyn and I met virtually, as we all meet these days, through Louis Baumander's acting studio, LB Acting Studio. During the pandemic, Louis was hosting these Friday morning get-togethers on Zoom for a lot of the actors in his studio, just to all get together on Zoom during the thick of the pandemic and kind of vent and talk and make sure we were all kind of doing okay. I met Robyn through there. She mentioned she was a physiotherapist turned actor. I work in sports medicine. Immediately, I stalked her on Instagram, and I was a guest on her incredible show, Window Chats with Robyn. Check it out. Window Chats with Robyn on Instagram and on YouTube. It's fantastic. After our chat, which was the longest we'd ever talked virtually, we've, again, never met in real life, we were like, did we just become best friends? And ever since our chat, which I think is now over a year ago, we have been in constant communication. Again, we've never met in real life, but I feel like I know her more than some of the people I actually have met in real life. She's one of those human beings who will call you on those things, called a phone, which can be terrifying for some people. But me, as an elder millennial, I love that. She'll call you in the middle of the day just to leave a message, say, Janet, I'm so proud of you. As you all know, my love language is words of affirmation, so God love you, Robyn. She's one of those people who lifts everyone up around her. As actors, I think we have zero control in this entertainment industry, or we feel like we have no control. And one of the things you can do as an actor to bring about more feelings of control and positivity is by lifting up your fellow actors, right? And this is what Robyn does. She's so positive with everyone around her. She's encouraging. She gives great constructive criticism. And she's hilarious. She's a fantastic comedian, and you're going to see in this episode, she's just a riot. She's a bundle of positivity. I'm so happy to have her in my life. Maybe one day I'll actually get to meet her in person, but for now, God, Robyn, I'm so thankful and appreciative and grateful that we are virtual friends and you came into my life over these last couple years and been so supportive of me in my acting career, in my hosting career. Everyone, you get to meet her. Please enjoy Robyn Deverett. For me, when I see auditions that require a general American accent, it's for Hallmark Christmas movies.
I think I'm waiting for the Hallmark Christmas theme to be Canadian. And then the problem is by then, I will be so Americanized. I don't know, a boot. I don't hear the about. I don't hear, unless someone's really Canadian and I'm watching the news and I go, oh, that's Canadian. I hear that. Okay.
There's also, I think, a bit of, I remember I really recognized the Canadian accent when Nelly Furtado won a Grammy, and she went up on the stage and did her speech. And I can't remember who introduced her, but it was somebody with a very kind of drawl, a very American accent. And the difference between the two and her enunciation, we tend to enunciate a lot more because of, again, how parallel we are to like the RP British. But we're Americans just rah, 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 rah. And also we do that classic like upspeak as well that, Americans don't do. And I think they sound like, when I try and do a general American accent, I go, oh, I'm sounding so rude. But, any like dialect coach is like, no, you sound confident. And when you do your, this is my Second Act Actors podcast? ? It's very Canadian.
But even with slating, right? Hi, my name is Robyn Deverett. No, that is my name. Not a question. That is my name.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Robyn Deverett, tell me your story. Tell me how you got into this crazy acting career that you now have. Acting/hosting.
Oh my gosh, Janet, I'm terrified to talk about myself. This is why I talk to other people. Tell me your story. Maybe we can make this about you again.
Nope, not allowed.
Okay, I'll try my best to be vulnerable and open. I feel like you've never watched me being interviewed before, and that's why you wanted me to be a guest, because I'm terrible. I am I'm actually, and I don't say that as self-critical. I say that as I deflect. So I'll be like, so Janet, tell me your story. But this is not supposed to be that. Okay. You know what the thing is, and this is why I struggle with I love the name second act actors, but for me, the biggest struggle I had is, when did I stop being an actor? And I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I feel like I've been acting my whole life kind of vibe, right? Like as a kid, you do all the musical theater and you do just singing classes and piano and dance, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm so talented. I'm obviously going to do this when I grow up. And you get, as a child actor, with my very minimal credits, but still some terrible child actor auditions. But I love them. I very much love them. And I learned that it is hard being a child actor when I reflect on that. But I don't know, it never leaves you in this sense of play and acting. And it's always been a part of me. And when I went to do my undergrad at Western for kinesiology, and I was doing, sports for marks. And so I ended up gravitating back towards like learning modern dance for a course. And then I actually became a group fitness instructor and a personal trainer. And I was teaching Zumba, like a Zumba fitness instructor. And I feel with that, it was always performing, right? So you're on stage and you're on and you're performing, you're ready to go and you're multitasking and you're just always it's always a show. And even with that too, I was always doing musical theater in the background or training for something. Like it never fully left me. But as I'm okay, what actually pays, right? So doing, the fitness stuff was great. It kept that going as well. And then just kept adding jobs, because why not overwhelm myself? It's very healthy. And so I started working as a kinesiologist. And then at the time, that wasn't it didn't have its own college. So I wanted to have more power and assess people. So I went to McMaster to do my Master's of Science in Physiotherapy. And I became a licensed physiotherapist. And after that, I was, again, still doing theater, still trying to get on camera auditions on my own and doing all those random short films, finding all this stuff on your own, just complete multitasking while still doing group fitness. And then I threw in like working as a Disney princess performer. And I could not stop performing. And even, working as a physio, working on all these different clinics and expanding my knowledge in what did I do as a physio? I learned about acupuncture, learned about vestibular rehabilitation, learned about soft tissue active release kind of, and I did a ton of pelvic floor education and got very much into it. That I pretty much, for the most part, I did a lot of orthopedics, but there reached a point in my practice where I did so much pelvic floor physiotherapy, because there's so much unknown about it, and I became super passionate about it. And it was just, for me, having this knowledge and learning so much about that area down there that no one talks about, I go, okay, first off, why don't we talk about this? That is upsetting, not just as a woman, but just as a person in general, because everyone has a pelvic floor. It's not just, oh, I had a kid, I should worry, or I'm getting old and I'm leaking when I jump. I go, okay, no, this starts at a young age. There's a lot of factors like stress, trauma, digestion, so many things factor into that. And I just got really, really passionate about educating people and treating them. But I don't know if you feel this way, and we might have spoken about this a while ago, where as a healthcare practitioner, it's so hard to not take this on. And it was really challenging for me to it's not even emotionally involved, but to go home and kind of leave your work in the clinic. When it comes with a lot of pelvic floor, what happens is I was seeing a lot of cases with trauma, with rape, with just really, really upsetting. And again, and even people that were just transitioning, right? And they didn't have anyone to talk to because no one took the time to listen. And then I got really cynical about the the healthcare field in general. Right? And you go, I think there's something wrong with the system. How do we fix this? And you learn you can't really do much, which is also upsetting. And then I started trying to figure out how I could get more information out there. And I tried creating content and whatnot. And it's still one of those ongoing things of how can we get more information out there? And I see all these people trying to have conversations now. I saw this thing on Netflix the other day. I thought, okay, cool. We're talking about these hard conversations with the pelvic floor. We're just trying to make it more normalized, which is amazing. Let's reduce the stigma. Because I find with anything, I don't know if you feel this way, but when it comes to issues that people don't physically see, they don't understand it, right? So if it comes to issues with mental health, like the pelvic floor, no one sees what's going on. Just there's so much that a person is going through that you might not be aware of. And as a human, I find that fascinating, right? That you can see someone and you don't know you don't know what's going on in their life. And like, there's just so much that people are going through. And I think the pandemic really emphasized how much people struggle on a daily basis, right? With mental health. Well, I always talk about the pelvic floor. Think about people just going for a walk and they can't access a washroom because everything's closed. Like how many people have been limited with all these restrictions. And I clearly am still very passionate about pelvic floor. I went on a tangent, but I find what frustrates me, and I know I really appreciated one of your questions, like, where do you feel a difference is between acting and your first act? And I think with acting, I miss making that impact on an individual. And so I'm always trying to figure out, how do I create content? At least what I'm trying to do now is, how do I create content that serves a purpose? So I know I do gravitate towards comedy quite a bit, but how can I take that comedy, take my education, take my knowledge, and share it to help get that message across? Because I don't want to be that preachy person. No one cares. No one's going to watch a 1-hour video about your pelvic floor. No one cares. I've watched so many lectures and so many seminars, and how are they getting this knowledge across? And it's too wordy, in my opinion. Again, to each their own. But I'm like, what can we get across? What can we share? How can we empower each other? Because I find my profession gave me so much knowledge and self-empowerment to a point where I like to diagnose myself and save money on physios. But I mean, I don't always get it right. And that's when it's super annoying. But when I do, I'm like, yes, don't have to go. Save money. I love that. But it's just, for me, it's so important to share helpful information, because there's so much terrible information online. And that's part of why, when I was creating this, I started the whole comedic commentary with Robyn. I just do anything with Robyn. It just became an ongoing joke with my husband and myself. And I thought, this is funny. I'm just going to keep doing anything with Robyn. And I find it funny, at least. And what I want to try and figure out is, how can I combine comedy with some kind of eye-opening awareness of, oh, this is something interesting. I didn't think of this being an issue. I know I'm kind of trying to sneak it in. You know how like parents sneak in the vegetables into the junk food with their kids? I'm trying to sneak in the little bits of knowledge. Like, oh, I didn't know if it's pain with insertion of a tampon, I should see a pelvic floor physio. I'm like, yeah, you should. But I'm not being preachy, not being a physio, just being a comedian. But also, look at that. I completely went on a roller coaster of, I don't know where I started. And I just shared information.
I'm remembering back to one of my earlier episodes with Francesca Decker, Dr. Francesca Decker. She's a doctor/actor. And she said something very similar to what you just said about how, as a healthcare professional, and as I think a lot of professionals in this world, not just healthcare, you have so much knowledge, but nothing that you, like exactly what you're saying, it's hard to disseminate that knowledge because nobody will listen to you. As soon as you become an entertainment person, you have an audience already who wants to listen to you. And why not give them more than just the entertainment that you're already giving them as an actor. Use some of that knowledge as well. She works in public health. She's like, I was noticing as a public health doctor, nobody was listening to me. As soon as I became an actress, they were like, let's listen, let's watch. And that's, sure, commentary on like what our world values or whatever, but sure, that's what the world is valuing right now. How do we harness that, right? And I think what you're doing is incredibly generous, for one thing, right? Like, I think it is, moving the world forward and giving good quality knowledge.
I'm laughing because, yes, it's generous, but it's also self-serving, right? Like, hi, this is my face. Get used to it. You're going to see it everywhere.
What do you think I'm doing?
I know. And I think that's part of it too, because I don't know if you feel this way, but I have so many ideas. I'm like, oh, this information needs to be out now. And then you get all overwhelmed. You're like, okay, let's just take a breath. Let's do one little segment at a time. And I go, but I need to share all this information. Like, there's so much information that people don't have. Okay. But there's another day to do it. And you also like have to focus on your life and self-care, which I always neglect. Because I'm like, no, it has to go out now. It's super important. Like 11 p.m., that's the best time to post it. Like, get it out. Next project, let's go. Come on, keep moving. You've got at least 4 lined up. You film 4 at once. Let's go.
It's your physio brain, right? It's exactly what we were talking about at the very beginning, right? How you are multitasking in your mind. It's hard to turn it off. Like, I don't think you can turn it off, right? Because it's who you are.
But I keep saying, I don't know if you know this. I always I don't know. Okay. Do you watch your podcast back and go, why on earth did I say this phrase so many times? The other day, what word did I say? I said the word adorable like 5 times. I don't ever describe anyone as adorable. And I thought, well, that was interesting. That was adorable. I'm trying really hard now when I watch my stuff to not be critical and to just be, okay, what did I do? Not wrong, but why was I stuck in that pattern of wording? And I go, mostly probably because I didn't breathe. I probably was not breathing. And then just thought, yes, let's just repeat words. Maybe no one will notice.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh God, I hope I can answer it well. Okay.
Because it's changing the subject, and I apologize. It's bad host.
No, it's not. You were just listening. I'm like, oh my God, am I doing okay? I was so scared. You're such a good listener.
Oh, thank you. This is kind of self-serving because I want to know the answer, because I think you and I are very, I don't think I know, you and I are very similar because of our backgrounds, like how we got here. So I, very similar to you, had a very creative upbringing. I was in all the plays. I was in musical theater. I did everything.
Be the lead in the play. Like, you
I
can't
never was. I never was. That's okay.
But did you want to be? Or was it just like, that's the thing, right? I never understood people being okay in the chorus. I never understood that. And again, like, if people just want to be around that, I love that. Totally respect it. But I'm like, no, I have to be better. Like, I have to be the lead. And if I'm not the lead, I hate myself. But then, that being said, I had like, I don't know if you, oh my God, again, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I'm just going to own it for your podcast. But at sometimes, and this is such a nice learning experience as a child, if you don't get the lead, how can you make that small little role your own? And how can you stand out with your couple lines? And then you realize you can do that and you go, ooh, I love me some small little roles. But then you learn you can't do that when it comes to on camera, because that's not about you. It's literally a one-liner and no one cares. Stop making it about you.
You have a function as opposed to a character. Yeah. Right? Your function is to deliver the pizza and get out so the story can keep rolling. Yeah.
I want to know what happened to the pizza person.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to give myself a backstory.
Do you not want to create, oh my gosh, that would be such a fun idea. If you start off a Hallmark movie, right? And okay, you think it's about these 2 people, and that's what the poster was. And next thing you know, it's about the pizza delivery boy, and you follow their whole,
I like it.
This is magic.
It's kind of like, have you seen Free Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like the background characters.
I love that.
And like, I auditioned for a 2-line role just recently for like housekeeper, and the lines are like, it will have aired by the time I've said this, I swear. But here you are, sir.
That's fine. I thought you auditioned for Free Guy. I'm like,
oh no, that would have been amazing. No, but the lines are, the lines are like, here you are, sir. This just arrived for you. Like something very, very functional, right? This is for episodic TV where your job as the two-line actor role is to keep the plot moving. But I was like, I'm going to give myself a name. I'm going to give myself a... Because we have so few auditions and stuff. I'm sorry, but I'm craving to do this, and I'm going to do it.
Here's a musical number. Here you are, sir. Da, da, da.
Okay, I have to get my question in because I really want to know. Because I don't know the answer for myself, but you did the exact same thing as me. You went from creativity in high school to kin. I did that too. I went from high school creative to kinesiology degree, and my parents have this memory of being at my grad ceremony, and they were announcing, what is everyone doing when you cross the stage? And they said, Janet McMorty is going to do a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, and some random looked at my parents and were like, what? Like Janet, like the theater musical band, geek Janet is doing a Bachelor of Science in Kin. Where did that come from? And I'm like, where did that come from? I have no clue. But I did very similar to you. I did all my sports for marks were dance, 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 dance.
Oh, I threw in some tennis, and I was a former swim instructor. So obviously I'm going to swim and get marks. Let's see how many credits I can get easily. Although, honestly, they actually did a good job with that swim course. I really wanted to learn to swim, but it seemed too dishonest. Like, no, if I'm rescuing people from the water, that I think I know how to swim. But I mean, look, some people did that. It's just kind of when some people did, like, let's learn Hebrew, and they were Israeli, like fluent in Hebrew, and you go, okay. I mean, look, you need the marks, do what you have to do, but. Yeah. But I think that's a great question. And I think, the obvious answer for me is I wanted to go into the arts. I was told no. So the best profession, in my opinion, was become a doctor. And so what path should I take to get there? What's the most interesting? I had a friend, and this friend is now getting married. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's the reason I went into kin. A family friend of ours, and he was doing kinesiology at Western, and they were dissecting cadavers in the second year. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? I would love to do that. It's the only program I knew that did that in second year. And so I went to Western. I had a cousin that was already there, and my parents, I've never gone out of town before, but my parents were like, okay, you have an older cousin there, someone, go to Western. And it worked out well. I met my husband there, who was lovely. But I think what it came down to was the arts were not considered a profession, which I totally understand. I'm not going to judge my parents for that, because I can see where. So I went to, when I was young, I went to Characters Theater Troupe. They're still around, new ownership. Shout out to Megan and Wayne Davis, who have amazingly talented children, and they're doing really well. But the original owner was Shari Quallenberg, and she was my agent.
She's an agent. Yeah.
She's amazing. She was just starting her group, and I spoke to her during the pandemic. I'm like, so I was terrible as a child actor, but thank you for keeping me. I genuinely didn't understand the concept of auditioning, because I was always like a 30-year-old as a child. I'm just like, this isn't logical. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to get excited for seeing teen boys that aren't there for this commercial. I don't understand that. I don't even like NSYNC. What are you going to do? I had this attitude. But I think it really was just like, I don't understand and I'm confused. And it came off as very rude. I was never told that. This is, again, self-reflection of, I feel like I came off as arrogant and rude when really I was just a scared child. But I think that's what it came down to, right? It's what is the profession that I would see myself doing where I could actually make money? And I was always interested in the human body. And so I had never actually been in high school. I would never call myself physically active. Again, doing a lot of theater, like I love dance, whatever. I never really considered that exercise per se. But when I went into kin and started learning all about the human body and anatomy and all the different, like going to the gym, and I go, oh my God, I can like get strong and like feel a little healthier. Wow, let's do this fitness stuff and get paid to like dance in front of people and teach them fitness. No, it is. But the thing with fitness too that bothered me was you would teach it. I was just talking to my husband about this. So funny. You would teach it and there would be me and then 65 people in the classroom, right? And me being like, I want everyone to understand and learn. I can't do that when there's 65 people and we're going to the beat of music, up for 2, down for 2, and faster. And I'm like, why are you using 20-pound weights for like 50 bicep curls? It's not going to work. That's not endurance. But again, everyone does what works for them. But I just felt like I didn't want people to get injured. So I get, maybe that's part of why I went into physio. I'm like, how can I fix the people that I might have injured as a group fitness instructor? I don't know. I just, I go back and I've been so reflective these past couple of months with like moving and going through all my old stuff. And I go, wow, I feel like you never know where your life is going to lead. And I think this has been my whole life. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I sat back the other day after having that discussion with the coach saying, just be a human and feel things. And I go, I don't want to. It's hard. It's hard being vulnerable. Can't I just put on like a character and do a weird voice and then just book something? No. It's just yeah. I feel like I don't know. I know that with life, it can be so sad that I just don't want to feel things all the time. But as an actor, it's your job to feel things all the time, and not even feel things to yourself, but to let others feel and react. And it's a hard job, man. Ugh.
Yeah. And do you think that was, so I've had this conversation with, I know this is going to be repeating myself in this podcast all the time, whatever. What is the idea? Well, the idea of emotional restraint. And in the field that you and I are both in, you can't really show emotion towards your clients or patients, right? You're meant to be positive and uplifting. Same with the performative aspect of fitness instructing, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear, like you were mentioning, with a lot of your clients, some of these really awful stories and tragedies, and you empathize and you sympathize and you just feel so much. But in order to be a resilient, gritty healthcare practitioner, you kind of have to figure out a way to not be so emotionally invested in that. Because, like you were saying, you bring it all home with you. You can't do that. Yeah. So we're building up these walls to try and not feel the emotions that people around us are feeling in our work. But then now we're trying as actors to be like, feel the sadness and show the sadness. I'm like, damn it. So it's now become kind of my thing to figure out how to do this. How do I compartmentalize medical world of emotional restraint, acting world of emotional, like trying to be free with it. Yeah. And it's funny, I was being coached by Alona Smythe yesterday.
Oh, I love Alona. Okay.
She is just, and she tells it as it is. She is, right? She tells it as it is. And she was like, she's like, you need to stop making this your narrative. Like, this has become a thing that you've now told yourself, that you can't be emotionally vulnerable because you're a doctor. She's like, you can't. She's like, what you need to do is you just need, and I'd been told this by lots of other teachers, and I've been, like asking, okay, so what do I do? And the answer is always like, you got to be, I'm like, the answer can't be therapy. I've been in therapy since I was like 8. But Alona, great advice, says what you got to do is you got to take some time in your week, sit down in front of your mirror and cry and see what you look like when you cry. Because we're taught so much to be like, oh God, I'm going to cry. Stop. She's like, you need to spend time with yourself saying, oh God, I'm going to cry. Excellent.
But you know what, though, with the crying is what's more compelling to me, because I would get a script and it would say cry. And I go, okay, well, I'm not going to book it. I can't cry. But the more acting coaches I go to, and it's always my question, how do I cry? I can't cry. I'm not a crier, and that's not fair. You can't put that on me. And then I get in like really this whole rant. How dare they ask me to cry? And then you take a step back and you go, okay, what is the emotional stake for you for this character? It doesn't have to be physical. Like, you don't have to be tearful. But I actually think what's more compelling when I watch people on TV is them holding back the tears. And how do I get to that point where I feel so emotionally involved as this character that I'm fully invested, fully there. And again, not for me, probably not going to be tears streaming down my face. because that only happens once every couple months. And I go, what are this liquid coming out of my eyes? I don't am I dying? No, those are tears, Robyn. You should cry more often. But I do understand what you're saying with being, you have to be, I remember there's a shout out to Monologue Slam, Andre Newell, and they were always saying, be ready, be prepared. Like, just, so if I get an audition tomorrow where it's, and they're filming the next day, right? Like, okay, do this, cry. Well, I have to know that I could do that, right? I have to be confident enough to know that, yes, I've been doing my mirror crying and I am good to go. But it's so hard because I think for the longest time, I don't want to cry. I don't want to feel things. And you have to, and it sucks. And that's part of why I'm like, can't I just do comedy? And then you see the comedian, I'm like, well, what is this comic crying? What's happening? Everyone's feeling things. Stop crying, people.
Is that why you've gravitated towards comedy, or are there other things that you've realized this is kind of my jam?
I think I've always been really sarcastic.
Yeah.
I would watch, my parents were really into home movies, and I would see little 7-year-old Robyn just making a little sarcastic remark. I would get in trouble at school for saying some, like, not even say, just like probably being a smart ass, if I can say the word ass. I've said it twice, so let's find out. But those kind of things where if life, as a child, when life didn't make sense to me, I would comment on it. I'm like, well, this is confusing. I don't understand. Why do we have to do this? And I get in trouble. This doesn't make sense. It's silly. I should be in charge. I'm like, okay, you're 7. But maybe it's because I'm an older child as well. I don't know. I'm the oldest. Eldest? I'm your elder. I'm going to call my siblings up. As your elder, here's advice. When you were growing up and you were super creative, and then like mom and dad, not to put blame on them, but someone had said, or you got in your mind, no, I can't do the creative jobs, right? I can't, the performer, the arts, it's not a viable career path. How did you transition into what you're doing now? And you know what? I will clarify, because I hate when it turns into a whole thing of like, oh, it's my parents' fault. It's not, because thank you for the therapy session. But actually what part of it, my family is super creative. We would submit to film festivals and things like that. And my extended family, we would do family lip syncs. We were always performing. And I found when I was a kid, I would insist on singing when it came to presentations. So it could be like the most basic presentation. What's an example? Like you just have to do a monologue in, like careers. You have to, let's say I was a stunt person. Like, well, this stunt person likes to sing about their job. Here we go. And I would just sing. Even for student council elections, I'm like, it's going to be a song, not a speech. I was always performing and on. And I don't think it fully left me. In high school, I don't know if I did as much theater as I wanted to, because I was always so focused on, okay, what is the end goal? What courses do I have to take? How do I get that super high average to get into the good university? And I think that's when I started becoming a little more serious, not getting as creative. Again, still doing some things. So I think probably from high school to university, the beginning of that, I didn't have as much of an outlet on it as I would have liked. And again, you go to university, you find the theater, you find open mic nights, you do fun karaoke. When I moved downtown to Toronto after McMaster or Hamilton, whatever, and I found this amazing open mic night with talented people, I'm like, oh my God, I love watching people that can sing. And then I get to be considered part of this. This is great. But then you get scared and then you go, well, am I good enough to be here? What's happening? I don't know. And then you just kind of go, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to yes and everything. I don't think I'm ever fully answering your questions, Janet. I literally, I think I'm talking to myself and there's just like a really supportive person here. I struggle. This is why like I just host and I let people talk, because it's a monologue, huh? Tell me about your experience with comedy. We kind of talked about a little bit about it, but you've done a lot of training at Second City and you're talking about open mic nights and stuff like that.
comedy is a beast. Comedy's a beast. Tell me about it. It's the hardest thing on the planet.
Honestly, comedy, I've spoken to so many people about comedy. I think everyone is funny, and I will always say that. And whether or not they're aware they're funny or they're just giving me, material for my comedy, doesn't matter to me. But I think everyone has it in them, whether they have a mannerism that's funny that they don't know about, or they just have this like interesting walk, or not making fun of them, mocking funny. I just think people in general are interesting. And that interesting component kind of brings out the comedy. And with comedy, at least what I found is you just have to just don't care what people think. And if you're willing to be super ridiculous, then sure, maybe people find it funny. A lot of people won't. It won't resonate with a lot of people. That's what I find. This is why it's taking me so long to create and put things out there. And there are just lulls of time where I do nothing because I just sit on the material and I go, oh, I can't post it. I'm going to get canceled. People are going to hate it. And then I go, okay, first off, Robyn, we do not have a large following. Okay. You're just building yourself up. Okay. No one's going to even watch this. So just post it. It makes me laugh. If it makes me laugh, I'll share it now. So I'm like, oh, this is so funny. Look at me, share. And then my husband does the, necessary heart or chuckle. I go, thank you, marriage intact. And whoever else it resonates with, that's lovely. But I think I think I really resonate with Seinfeld, where it's just generic, like life is so weird and funny. And I was watching so many interviews about like comedians in their life or biographies and interviews. And when I resonate so much with them because when something bad happens, I always think, okay, well, here's the comedy. And I just can't turn it off. I'm like, okay, well, this is what's funny about this atrocious thing that's happening in the world. I'm like, oh, that is funny. And then it's just how I think it's a coping mechanism. I've spoken to other because I think it's easier to me than crying in front of a mirror.
It's gallows humor. And I think, it's if we don't laugh, we cry about it, right? And I resonate with that too. I think, in medicine, one of the best things I ever did for myself in medicine was start working. I had a solo practice, and then I started working like within the hospital with other healthcare professionals. And that was the best thing for me because all we did was dark humor all day, every day. Because there's, like you're saying, atrocities of this world. And, nobody likes to have healthcare professionals at a dinner party because they're all just laughing about the ridiculous things that happen, which if a normal, regular human being listens, they're like, ugh! We're like, no, we need to laugh about this sort of thing. Otherwise you can't cope.
It's a really good point. And that could be part of it, too, because again, seeing all these, it's more than inequality and it's more than lack of education. There's so much wrong with the healthcare system. Again, the fact that it's essentially free for the most part is great, but there's so much missing. And I don't know how you fix a system. Let's decide now. Let's fix it.
And that is, I think, coming up on an episode, I'm talking to like a burnout specialist. But I think that is an underlying reason why every second act actor has gone into something else. It's not just healthcare. I've talked to teachers, I've talked to lawyers, I've talked to engineers, is that they went into this job, went into their first career really excited about a lot of parts of their job. We all did. And then you get in there and there's something called the system that is completely fighting against you. And you go, well, crap. And it makes you very cynical, like you were saying. And
I'm cynical. That's why I was worried, okay? I thought it's going to come across as super bitter.
No. I've seen it in every single person I've chatted with and every single person I work with. When you're like, these are genuine people who want to do a good job in the career that they've trained for and they're passionate about. But it's usually around about the 5-year mark when you start to get cynical and realize that you're fighting this massive, massive wall and there's nothing you can do about it because you're just this little teeny little pawn and it's really, really hard. And I think especially for creatives like ourselves who tend to be very the empaths, right? Like you bring in all of the emotions. That's something that is really, really difficult when you see your patients struggle, your students struggle, your, customers struggle and there's nothing you can do about it. It's really hard. It's really hard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's hard too. And I try as much as I try and make sure that someone understands these are the steps you need to do to help you get better. And I'll video the exercises and I'll say, like, here where you can find X, Y, and Z, lay it out. Here's the plan. I know they're not the majority. Look, the ones that do it, they get better, love it, gold star. But the ones that don't, I also understand why they're not doing it because I'm a terrible patient. I'm just, yes, there are so many exercises that I should be doing. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe that hamstring will always be weak. Who cares? I do, but not enough to commit to my rehab. So it's a lot, right? It's not like, okay, you wake up just to be a human in every day without any health issues is exhausting. There is so much going on that you have to do. And then you add any other, codependence is the word I'll use. And it's just even more. And then, stuff happens in life and you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal. Life is hard. And it's, this is a downer, huh? This is why I do comedy. Miss Dr. Janet here. Miss Doctor. Dr. Janet, I can't even remember when you reached out to me, but it was definitely recent enough that you're just like, Robyn, I'm going to start a podcast. This is my idea. Okay, let's just discuss. Next thing I know, you got a poster. You got the whole platform. You got your guests lined up. You got your own little Calendly, little organized to book your guests. You got that follow-up email with the link. You've got this huge following on YouTube. And your Instagram following's growing at 1,000 downloads in, I think, under 2 months or something. And I'm just sitting back in awe going, I will learn from you. Because I love when I talk to other artists and I want to do this. How, you have any suggestions? Of course, here's your suggestion. And you take it and you make it your own and you go with it. And you share the little clips. I know how long it takes and you're going to edit these podcasts. My goodness, that is exhausting. People do not understand. Like, it is so, so time consuming. And the fact that you've taken it, you've made it so successful in such a short amount of time. Just like, I remember discussing, and I'm so proud of you.
You deserve a shout out as well too. And I didn't want to tangentially go off about how much I appreciate you because I would get all emotional, but you've been so supportive of me and of me, not just the podcast, but, when I was trying to find a new agent, when you took so much time out of your day just to be like, I'm calling you and we're going to talk through this and we're going to, and cheerlead me through this. And same with, when I reached out about starting this podcast, you're like, get on the phone, let's chat. And I think I just appreciate the hell out of you. I think you're the best.
Okay, I love that you brought up the phone. I'm a phone talker. I can't stand this text. No, let's talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. But you know what, Janet, though? I'm willing to talk to any actor because I know people that help me as well. And I just think it's so important that actors keep having conversations with each other because it's so easy to feel alone in this industry. It's so easy to feel like you're in competition. And then you go, okay, well, no, even if we were going up for the same role, I'm different than you, right? So even if we delivered it the exact same way, it would still be completely different. So I think it's just so important to support each other. And that's one of the biggest surprises I found with this community is how supportive it is. Because for such a competitive industry, I know so many people have my back. And I know that I have so many people's back. And when I see people creating projects and putting themselves out there, I know how vulnerable I feel. And I see the work that other people are doing and continue to do. Because I remember saying, Janet, there might be a point where you go, I'm done with this. No, thank you. And you want to walk away. And I will not judge you because that happened so many times with me that you just keep pushing and you because we love to create and we love to connect. The reason I love the podcast is I love talking and learning about people. You learn little gems and you go, huh, didn't know that. That's interesting. Little fun fact about that person. And I just like telling stories, right? And hearing stories, and it makes you connect so much more with someone, and you see there's so much you don't see, right? And you were talking before about social media with here's my perfect life, and that's part of why at one point I think I took down all my pictures from social media. I go, I hate this, it's disgusting. And then I was told by a casting director that I look like a robot and I have to put pictures back, so I selectively did. I'm like, that's fine. Okay, I get it. Okay, whatever. It was just it wasn't a Toronto casting. It was a casting director I work with on Clubhouse. And she's just like, no, people will think you're a robot. I go, okay, that's fine. Here's a couple, whatever. But it's just so hard when you see people that are posting booked it and success story and I'm awesome and look how strong I am and look how fit I am and here's what I eat in a day. And I go, oh my God, I can't. First off, I hate that. That's a sidebar. And I will watch it. I don't know why I care what you eat in a day. That's going to be my next one. Why do I care what they eat in a day? Fascinating to me. But I think it's really, really important that we know that just because something's online, it doesn't necessarily, you don't know if it's true. I like to test that sometimes. But also you don't know the struggle, like how long someone books something, you don't know how hard they've been working on that, how much effort they put in, the amount of coaching, the amount of practice, the amount of training, the amount of just dedication to your craft. And I find that daily practice is so hard to commit to. When I was doing the workshop, or not, I guess it was workshop class, I don't know, it was this 2-week class in LA and it was on Zoom and it was for comedy. And we had to practice 3 hours every day. And it was, for me, so funny because I love that stuff. And I'm like, oh, finally have people to practice with every day. But you grow so much more as a performer when you work daily on it. And it's just, again, so hard to commit to because life. But when you're intentionally practicing, and that's all you're doing, right? You're going, I'm doing this scene today. I'm going to break it down bit by bit. And first off, you appreciate the writers that much more. You go, oh, this was well written. I understand. I see the comedy now. Well done, sir. Ma'am. Other person. I don't know how to address. I'm really bad with pronouns. Apologies to anyone watching this. But I think it's so necessary for people to realize that social media is, as much as it is an amazing, amazing platform with, I know you were in a bunch of my Clubhouse rooms and we're connecting with people from all over the world and we're hearing so many different stories. And, Instagram, again, I do my podcast on Instagram. It's really fun to be interactive. And even YouTube, I see videos and I go, oh, look, I can teach myself how to do work around my house. Yeah, let's fix this. So there is amazing resources on social media, but there's so much fakeness out there and there's so many ways for you to feel like you're not enough. And I hate that because I've definitely watched and I go, there's so much more I can be doing. And I don't know if I'll ever stop feeling that way, even as I'm creating this. I'm like, I can do more. I can keep doing more. People are doing more. They're getting ahead. I'm behind. What am I? And it's like, okay, let's just take a breath and focus on yourself. Because not even not focusing on yourself completely selfish way, but actually taking time to step away and breathe and know that life isn't an emergency and it's not a race. That's the worst thing for me, is remembering it's not a race. You go, well, I didn't book this role. Why am I not the lead? Okay, well, did you even book a one-liner? No, I haven't, but I should be the lead. Okay, Robyn, this isn't grade 3 school. So let's just baby steps. It's it's hard because you love it. I personally love it so much. I just want the biggest role possible because I just want to keep performing and I just want to always be on camera. But my God, can we give credit to people behind the scenes? You're doing behind the scenes now too. You're editing, you're producing. It is exhausting.
Yep.
And if you, I really enjoy writing randomness, and it is hard. I'm working with a friend of mine from Second City, and we're trying to write. We keep trying to write. He's such a sweetheart. And every time we try to write, I just hate writing scripts. I'll have the ideas. And he goes, it's okay. I like writing the script. I go, okay, amazing. So because you have to write, the actions, the descriptor. I'm like, I don't know. I see it in my head. Why is it not on the page? I don't understand. Oh, someone else has to read it? What? I'm not doing every single part? Okay, fine. All right. It's really, there's so much that goes into creating a production or creating anything, right? And I feel as though the people behind the scenes are so undervalued. And I feel as much as actors are working hard, like we are, I know how hard we're working, but we just got to give a lot of credit to the people behind the scenes because they set up those shots. Like, how long do they spend setting up the shots? How they're the first people on set. They're getting the lighting. They're getting all this stuff ready, figuring out even stand-ins, right? Getting the position. Okay, talent comes in. Again, it is very hard to get 1 or 2 takes, whatever. That's very challenging, right? Just blocking out the world, being in the scene, being in the moment. Very hard. But then there's taking it down, moving to the next location, getting the shot. Oh, look, it's Toronto, terrible weather. I guess we're changing locations today. So there's so much that goes on. And I used to feel like actors were the main part of the production, and we're so important. We are, right? I mean, we're the face, but there's so much behind the scenes, and there's just, I remember talking to casting directors, and I do think they should get an Oscar, right? I do think casting is a talent in and of itself. When I was talking to one of the casting directors in Toronto, and she was saying she knows exactly who would be this role. And people were saying, no, I don't know. I don't want to see them, whatever. And then, okay, fine. They're just going to tape. Gives them the tape. Yeah, actually, you know what? They're great for the role. Yes. Because they know what they're doing. They've heard your vision. They know you're paying them for a reason. Okay. I love learning about this. Again, the more you learn, the more you appreciate, and the more you realize you don't know. This is what I wish I would keep telling myself, is just don't cut yourself short, right? Don't reject yourself. And I've heard that a couple times where you're getting an audition for a reason, right? And I say that, and I definitely read an audition. I go, this is not me. Well, they gave you the audition, so maybe it could be you. Acting. So but even with that, you go, oh, well, no, I can't do this because obviously so I'm still non-union, right? So I'll be like, obviously they're going to go with someone in the union, and it's just like not worth my time. And then I'm going to get invested. I'm going to pay for coaching, but what's the point? Well, the point is you're auditioning for casting. You're not necessarily auditioning for the role. You're auditioning for the casting director or the production team or whoever sees it. You're just do a good audition and don't say no. And don't get in your head. I'm going to watch this back and be like, Robyn, see, you're telling people not to get in your head. Okay, just literally self-love, people. Okay, everyone is awesome. Everyone brings their selves to the tape, and just try and remember that. And don't be like me and get all, hey, it's a musical every time you do an audition, because no one wants to see that unless it's a musical. But even then, probably would still be too much. So just try and be yourself, and whatever that is, because there's only one you. I love that. I've heard that somewhere. I can't give people credit because I've heard all this advice so much. I don't know where I heard it from. But I think it's hard to say do what makes you happy, because this industry so many times doesn't make you happy. But when I act or when I create, I feel like there's a part of me that's just so happy. And that's why I love listening or watching other people's podcasts and learning. And you go, oh my gosh, people are going through so much, and it's kind of their choice for, as a healthcare professional, when I'm going through things, I don't think it's anyone's business. So to know that people are going through other things, I guess, obviously not just healthcare, but that's all I think about, right? As you go in, okay, my day is out there and I'm here for the patient. But even, as a casting director, as an actor, it has to be that way too, right? Okay, so my day, there's a lot going on in my life. No one else's business. I'm here to do a job. And that is when I hear not just with Jules, but with other people, what they had going on in their life when they were filming something, or I go, that's other level of being able to compartmentalize. And that's why they have the Oscars now. It's such a life skill though, right? To not let one thing affect the rest of your day or your life or other people. Mm-hmm. And that's just, I wish we would learn this stuff in school. Yeah. You know, I wish we would just have practice when we were kids of, okay, you're upset about something that happened on the playground? Okay, so let's just kind of leave it on the playground and we move on. And we don't let that affect your day or your learning or when you go home or the other kids in your play circle or something. Play circles. Those were fun. Can't imagine going back to school now, right? Where I don't know how it works. You share an apple juice? I can't. Okay.
But it's true, though, right? Like, it goes back to what we were talking about before, right? The compartmentalizing thing. I think it can be good and bad, right? Like, you can compartmentalize so much that you don't actually, like, resolve the compartment. And then that just is awful for, like, long-termness if you're just holding a grudge. But I agree. I think that's a resiliency thing that I think a lot of people, I know myself included, never really learned growing up. And I know I struggle with now. And it's just something that, you know, now that I'm older, it's hard to teach an old dog new things. And you just try the best you can.
Resilience.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
But I love your vibe. I love your positivity. I love what you're putting out there, because I think conversations are really important to have where I think, and again, as much as I hate sharing my life, I was taught it's nobody's business. Just do the work. Just like show up.
But there's people who want to know about your life, Robyn.
I don't like sharing, Janet. No, but I think it's important for people to know that even if, like, I think everyone is struggling. I know I've struggled so much. Like, there's the self-doubt. There's like the days, weeks, months where you shut out the world because you have other stuff going on and life. And I hope people know that they're not alone. And I always respect people that make themselves available. I'm always available. I just don't know how to send that message. Oh gosh, is this good message going to come out? And then I'm going to get messages back, which is fine. I'm not like a license to help with everything, just physio, and and acting chats. I love those. But I think the more we continue to grow this community and this support system, the more people will just feel good, feel less alone, because I think that's important, and just like less in their head of like, I'm doing the wrong thing, and just I don't know. I want everyone to be happy, which is funny because I don't know the last time I've been like truly 100% happy, at peace with myself, because it's hard.
Yep.
Because I can't quiet that voice of telling me I'm not good enough. Being like, never. Actually, I love that we had to start this podcast, because I was not happy with my hair. And I straightened it a ton more and added a little more cover up, because I'm getting older. And I thought, well, let's just pretend I'm not. What's my playing age? But it's, if this helps anyone, cool. I never think anyone wants to hear what's going, and that's I'm doing what my guests do, right? Mm-hmm. Where my guests say, no one cares about my life. I'm like, you are fascinating. You are a human being, and you are fascinating.
Yep.
And people want to know, oh my gosh.
You and I, we see it like all the time. The amount of people who I've emailed and I've said, I would love to have you on my podcast. And they're like, but I'm not anything to anyone or anything. I have no story. I have nothing to say. I'm not an actor. I don't do this. I'm like, I've had 2 lines in a Christmas movie, and that's it. Who am I to have a podcast about acting? Shut your face. You have a great story. Get on my damn podcast. And then they do, and their stories, just like yours, Robyn, are incredible. And people want to hear them, and they should hear them, because you're going to help people.
I always think there are rules with a self-tape. Like, it has to be X, Y, and Z. And I think the more rules I place on the self-tape, the worse it is, right? Like, and the more I'm focused on what would a human do in this scenario? And again, hopefully not smoking, but in general, it's just, and I know so many actors that are booking now, they say, okay, literally give it 3 takes. And the problem I have, I'll do that, but I'm like, but it could be better. I'm missing this. What about that? And then it can always be better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what about this? What about this beat? This beat makes sense. Let's keep, I'm like, and you'll only get 1 or 2 takes. And yes, even though I try and limit myself to 3 takes, I'm like, oh, but what about this? And then you get in that spiral of,
yep.
And I know if you were going to the room, you would get the 1 take, maybe 2, and then leave. Okay, cool. But maybe it's the part of me, and I'm like, but this could be better. And maybe there's a little comedy here. And then again, it's, okay, it's not your character's show unless you're the lead. And even then, it's like you have to give it more, like, work with your scene partner, unless it's literally just an episodic monologue, which is probably what this podcast is. Robyn,
I'm here for it.
Being supportive.
I'm here for it.
But the auditions, the self-tape, that whole, it's like, how many courses have I look at my resume and go, how many different people can I train with to keep doing the same? And that's why I got upset at myself. I'm like, I know this. Everything you're saying, I know. I've heard it. I've worked with you before.
Yep.
Like, I hear it. I'm telling it to myself when I try and do even a voiceover recording. Why is it not coming out the way I can? Yeah. It's so frustrating. And that's so part of why it's like a community of venting. And everyone feels you. Because I think everyone can get there. Yeah. It's just a matter of, I don't even like getting, everyone says get out of your own way. I'm like, I don't, there's something else. Like, is it really just me in my own way? If so, that sucks. Could have saved a lot of money on training. It's a lot of dough.
Well, the problem is that we are so in our own way, but we're like, okay, what is it? What is the secret? What is it? So we just keep taking class upon class upon class with somebody else, being like, maybe they're the guru I need to now follow. And then you realize, okay, I learned different things from different people. Yeah. And every class I've taken is wonderful, right? Like, nothing I've taken has been not helpful or a scam, because I'm a smart person. I know I'm not going to go
oh, I've fallen for so many. I love that you haven't. Okay.
I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I don't know. But I'm trying to find
the ones I spoke to you about, no, I think those were legit.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think if I've fallen for any scams. I'm sure it's coming down my future. I think all actors do at some point, because we are kind of vulnerable human beings who like to follow gurus. But, like, there are some gurus out there who I will follow, Lewis, until forever, because they've been so positively influential on not just me as an actor, but me as, like, a human being. But, yeah.
Well, but you know what, though? And there's so many studios for a reason. Like, again, not so many, but enough that it's like, if one studio doesn't work, that doesn't mean you're a bad actor. And I know before I had gone to LB, there was this terrible workshop I did. And it was just pretty much like he's saying, we don't need brunettes in this business. What are you doing? Kind of vibe. I'm like, oh, that's great. Unfortunate. Whatever. But it doesn't mean you're a bad actor if you have bad experience with one place. And I think that's super important to know, because people, what they say can really, I wish that people understood that what they say can affect someone so greatly. And that's why I struggle too, right? That's why I struggle putting up comedy, or even like as a physio, I'm trying to be super careful with my words, because you never know what's going to resonate with someone. Even if an acting coach or someone, even on set, right? They have those throwaway comments, and you don't even think someone will hear it, and it sticks with you. And it's always that comment that you play in the back of your mind. You go, oh, but this version at this time, oh, I remember that. And it's the worst. Yeah. And yes, technically, you shouldn't let people's words affect you. But I think when you're in such a vulnerable state, sometimes it's hard not to.
Oh, and that's human nature, right? Like, for every 10, like, what do they say? Like, one horrible patient or one horrible word or one horrible thing said to you will ruin the 10 beautiful patients you had before who think you're great, or beautiful words that were said to you. They can all it takes is one negative comment to destruct.
Janet, I love talking with you.
I love talking with you too.
I could very much keep talking to you. Oh, this was so challenging for me, but thank you for, you know what? Thank you for pushing me outside my comfort zone. That's another word of advice, guys. Do things that you are not comfortable with, because that's where you grow the most. This was scary for me. I was scared.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Robyn, for being my guest this week. Thank you for being so supportive of me, this podcast, and, just everyone around you. You are a ray of freaking sunshine, and you are hilarious. Everyone needs a Robyn in their life. I hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Ooh, and before I say bye, make sure you check out Robyn's Window Chats with Robyn show, as well as her other show, Let's Get Fingered. Definitely find it online, and you'll get to see all the incredible things that Robyn is doing. I hope you'll tune in next week for another episode. Bye! Second Act Actors is produced and edited by me, Janet McMorty. Theme music by Guillaume, additional sound editing by David Studio, additional video editing by Jackie Wadoer. Show notes written by Sarah Hopkinson. I record using Riverside FM. If you're interested in developing an interview-based webcast like mine, I highly recommend this platform. Shoot me an email and I'll direct you to the wonderful folks there. If you or someone you know is interested in being a guest, email me at secondactactors@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. My love language is words of affirmation, so compliments, constructive criticism, and feedback are always welcome and encouraged. Negative Nancys, Judgy McJudgersons, or Debbie Downers, unless you're Rachel Dratch, regarding me or my guests are not welcome. It takes serious courage to share your story with the world, so if you're tempted to negatively comment about someone else's story, please ask your therapist why you're such a garbage person. Save the drama for the stage. On that happy note, I hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!